Hello everyone and welcome to this edition of Inside the Naval Postgraduate School. I'm your host Alan Richmond right here on the Pentagon Channel. Welcome to the show. Well, in this episode we'll travel down to Camp Roberts, California and look at UAV research. We'll also look at a project called Snowflake. We'll also be saluting two of the NPS students who were honored recently by the American Red Cross as heroes for 2012. Starting off the show, we had the pleasure recently of visiting with the Undersecretary of the Navy, Robert Work, who paid us a visit at the Naval Postgraduate School. Robert Work was confirmed as the Undersecretary of the Navy on May 19, 2009. In this capacity, he serves as Deputy and Principal Assistant to the Secretary of the Navy and acts with full authority of the Secretary in the day-to-day management of the Department of the Navy. Work was a distinguished graduate of the Naval Reserve Officers Training Course at the University of Illinois and was commissioned as Second Lieutenant in the United States Marine Corps in 1974. During his 27-year career, Work held a wide range of commands, leadership, and management positions. He commanded an artillery battery and artillery battalion and was the base commander at Camp FUJI, Japan. His last assignment was as military assistant and senior aide to the Honorable Richard J. Danzig, the 71st Secretary of the Navy. After retiring from the Marine Corps, Work joined the Center for Strategic and Budgetary Assessments, first as the Senior Fellow for Maritime Affairs and later as the Vice President for Strategic Studies. In these positions, he focused on defense strategy and programs, revolutions in war, Department of Defense transformation, and maritime affairs. In 2008, Work served on President Barack Obama's Department of Defense transition team. In this role, he was the leader of the Department of the Navy issue team and served on the Defense Policy Acquisition and Budget teams. He also attended the Naval Postgraduate School, where he obtained a Master of Science in Space System Operations. Well, Secretary Work, first of all, thank you for taking time to appear with us on Inside NPS here on the Pentagon Channel. Well, when you think from a business sense about the Navy, it's like one giant company, isn't it?
Well, I tell everyone that the Department of the Navy is one of the oldest and most successful and largest global corporations on the planet. It's been around for 236 years nearly. It's just, we span the globe. We have over 500,000 active duty sailors and Marines. We have another 200,000 civilians. It's just a great job. I deal with great people every day. I can't speak enough about their talent, their motivation, their patriotism. It's just a joy. It's one of the best jobs I've ever had. Well, it is the best job I've ever had, and I pinch myself every day because I'm lucky enough to have it.
Now, you are retired Marine, so you've had a long military career prior to becoming the Undersecretary. You talk a lot about the Marine Corps Navy team. Can you elaborate a little bit on that? Because it's pretty dynamic, the points that you make in your speech.
Well, the Navy and the Marines are both phenomenal organizations, but together they're so much greater than the sum of their parts. In one department, we have the capability to dominate from the sea all the way to the shore, from space all the way down to the ground. Under the sea, on the sea, it's just a tremendous organization. And because Navy sailors and Marines have grown up together, it's imprinted into their DNA that they operate together in expeditionary operations. They think the same in terms of distributed operations, which I like to call maneuver and waiting, where they're quite comfortable for their force to be quite distributed and then collapse when necessary to help each other. And they're also very good at disaggregated operations, which are more geographically fixed. It's based on trust tactics. We expect very junior officers and enlisted to do their job without a lot of supervision. It's just a tremendous organization and something that the nation just couldn't do without.
What would you say to the question, what is the state of the Navy today?
Well, I'm definitely a glass is three-quarters full type of guy. Everyone knows about the budget problems that we're faced with. But if you take a look at the strategy that just came out of the most recent strategic review, I can't imagine a more maritime-friendly strategic document since 1890. It calls for a strong Navy Marine Corps team. It requires us to be able to provide access to the global commons. It asks us to make sure that we provide access in theater combat operations. It tells us it specifically seeks low-cost, innovative footprint operations, which we excel at. It tells us to focus in to the Pacific and the Central Command, where They're both now maritime theaters. If you take a look at this strategy, it calls for a strong Navy Marine Corps team, and that's why I think we did relatively well on the recent strategic review. And if you take a look at the things that we're building and the people that we have, it's just, to me, it truly is a glass three-quarters full.
Well, I know you're an NPS alum, so you've spent time and you know a lot more about the Naval Postgraduate School than most, and you are here today because of Cruiser and our Robots in the Roses, as we call it, our second annual event. Talk a little bit about unmanned systems and the research and contributions that NPS makes.
Well, right now the fleet is running flat out. It has been running flat out for 10 years. It doesn't have a lot of time to think of things other than getting the job done today and the job that they're going to have to do tomorrow and the next week. That's their focus, and they are doing a tremendous job. The role that Naval Postgraduate School plays for the Navy is it takes young, operationally savvy officers from both the Navy and the Marine Corps and the other services, brings them together in an academic environment, challenges them academically, but asks them to use their own operational savvy to think of new ways in which the Navy Marine Corps team might be successful in the future. There's just very few opportunities to do that. The Naval War College does it for our senior leaders, and this does it in more of an academic environment in a wide variety of disciplines. We simply could not do without Naval Postgraduate School. So when you're thinking of unmanned systems, which have been around for a long time, but still haven't really crossed the threshold in a lot of the communities. I think it's doing very well in the aerial and aviation, and it's doing pretty well in unmanned systems for mine warfare. But there's a wide variety of other things that we could do. So Cruiser, the Consortium for Robotics and Unmanned Systems Education and Research, is designed to get young officers and people from all over to think about how these unmanned systems might help the Navy Marine Corps team be better in the future. So I can't say enough about the role of NPS in just the broader sense of getting people to think outside the box, but specifically for unmanned systems, I think it performs a vital role.
And one final question for somebody that might be watching the interview that's contemplating coming to NPS, being an alum, what advice would you offer them?
Wow, prepare yourself for one of the greatest tours you could possibly have. I was here for 27 months. I received the Master of Science in Systems Technology, Space Systems Operation, and my wife and I thought it was one of the best tours I ever had. Great professors, awesome location, terrific school. Every single day, my mind was stretched and challenged in ways that I didn't really think about, and I had a blast. And so anyone who's lucky enough to come here, they ought to be saying, wow, I want to make this one of the best tours that I've had, that I have or will have in the Navy, and I'm certain they'll be able to do it.
Well, special thanks to the Undersecretary for taking time to appear on the show. And while he was here, he had the opportunity to visit Robots in the Roses. And so did we, and so do you. Here's Captain Jeff Klein.
Cruiser is the Consortium for Robotics, Unmanned Systems, Education and Research. It was really the idea and vision of Undersecretary of the Navy Bob Work to employ both the NPS faculty and students, academic and industry partners in order to bring forth and design unmanned systems to employ them at sea. Cruiser here at NPS acts as both the catalyst for collaboration across the country, and our researchers do everything from address both the culture and legal aspects of employment of unmanned systems to actually designing them, putting them in the air, testing them, bringing our operationally experienced students knowledge to the field along with very talented faculty to take and design concepts, move that to technical exploration, and then actually getting in the field to experiment to see if those concepts actually work. Well, they're important for two reasons. First, because they provide the science and the deep research in order to employ new technologies at sea. But just as important for the Naval Postgraduate School is that we're enhancing the education of our young officers that attend school here. They will be the generation that actually employs and realizes the full potential of unmanned systems in maritime operations.
We also had the opportunity to speak with one of our leading professors, Tim Chung.
Robots in the Roses is an annual event. It's our second annual Robots in the Roses Research Fair. And it's a chance for both the faculty and students to come out and share their research about unmanned systems and robotics. Really get a chance to engage in conversation and learn what other people are doing. Well, we have a motto that we in Cruiser like to share, which is conversation leads to collaboration, and collaboration leads to innovation. And innovation is the type of stuff that we want coming out of these types of interactions, and this is just the start of that. So one of the things that we are very proud to do with Cruiser is to not only educate our military officer students now, we're also interested in educating the future leaders growing up as well. So K through 12, STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math outreach is a major part of Cruiser and is also of interest to the Navy and the Marine Corps, and so we embrace it at our Robots and the Roses events today. The thing about kids is they love to be fascinated and inspired, and robotics has done a wonderful thing of being able to inspire our kids to study those fields like science and engineering. And one of those things here is to show them that there is all sorts of things that they could go and learn about and hopefully pursue careers in these technological fields.
Well, stay right with us, because after the break, we'll take you to Camp Roberts, California, and look at Surpass. Be right back. Well, join me now at Surpass at NPS. The Center for Interdisciplinary Remotely Piloted Aircraft Studies, or Surpass, is a research center at the Naval Postgraduate School in Monterey, California. The center operates manned, instrumented research aircrafts in support of the science community. It also provides air vehicle support to the military on training exercises with tests, evaluations, and operational demonstrations of military technology. We had the opportunity to meet in Marina with Director Bob Bluth.
Surpass has been at NPS since 1996, and we more or less started it up programmatically in 1992 at Austin Naval Research. Students do a lot of work with the UAV projects, particularly TNT that uses our facilities at Camp Roberts. On the larger scale projects, like where Twin Otter right now is deployed to Key West for a month, the students don't participate quite as much because the airplane, the research is gone for so long, it takes so long, that their fast-paced master's degree programs just don't have the time to allow it. But on the UAV side, quite a few students go through our facilities at Camp Roberts and work with PELICAN, put payloads on, study how those payloads work as part of their thesis projects. Well, what we do is really unique. We can take military systems that are actively used in DoD and have them brought into the research community through NPS, since NPS is part of the Department of Defense. And then, since we're an academic institution, we can then work with the other members of the academic community, lots of other universities or research laboratories, to convert those systems for more research-oriented purposes. So a good example is the radar truck. It used to be a battlefield air defense radar, and now it's a severe storm radar. Or Pelican used to be a O2A from Vietnam War era, and we modified it, and now it does research that supports better assessment of UAV capabilities, and the Marine Corps uses that a lot. And so it can stretch from doing basic research to doing more applied research, and all of it's possible because NPS is part of the Department of Defense and is a real university, and so lets us work with the academic community in a broader way throughout the country.
Well, special thanks to Director Bob Bluth. Well, now we head south down to Camp Roberts and McMillan Airfield and talk with Ray Jackson.
I am the UAV program manager. I kind of wear two hats. I'm the UAV program manager. Under that, I manage our UAV assets, which include the Predators, the Sentries, and also the Pelican, which is a manned airplane, but it's because we use it as a UAV surrogate. That fund falls under my direction mostly. And I also manage the UAV field here at McMillan Airfield. The field is an Army base, and it's actually the California Army National Guard that runs the base. And so we are a tenant unit here with the California Army National Guard. And so we run the operations here on the airfield. This is kind of our base. But once we leave the confines of the airfield, we have to coordinate with the California Army National Guard. They run the range, they run the airspace, own the airspace, if you will. So anything that we do, we work with them in order to get that space permission to fly in the airspace, deconflict frequencies with the other users of the base, and deconflict our operations with any other users on the base. There are lots of other things that go on here. The National Guard has their own UAVs that also fly. In addition, with the Naval Postgraduate School, they do this big exercise with US SOCOM every quarter. That's probably our biggest user here as far as in terms of numbers. We range here, we have somebody flying here almost every week, but sometimes we'll have 5 people out here flying, and then we come into one of these big TNT exercises and it grows up to 600 people here at any one time. When we initially kind of built our facility here, we paved it and put in our temporary facilities, and it was very low-keyed. Didn't have a lot of use for many times of the year. We kind of coined it as the airfield of dreams, because we figured, well, if we build it, eventually they will come. And sure enough, you've been around in these TNT exercises and you've seen it, and absolutely they did come. This place has become a very popular location for training and for UAV flights. Surpass has several assets in his arsenal. First off, we have the Twin Otter, which is kind of on a different side of Surpass. They do mostly atmospheric research. We have the PELICAN surrogate UAV, which is not really a UAV. It was originally built in a combined program with ONR and NASA as a OPV, optionally piloted vehicle, and it was built in a combined effort by Zivco Aeronautics and General Atomics. And we have several of the Sentry UAVs. This is a new program for Surpass. The Sentry is a smaller tactical UAV, approximately the same size. It's a Shadow UAV, so that gives us an opportunity to get involved into what is the tactical level platform, which is the most popular now in the Army and the United States Marine Corps. We are very excited about the Sentry UAV program, because this is new to us, and this is kind of a new avenue for us to go into actually flying our own UAVs. Usually, especially with the Predators, we would hire General Atomics to actually do the flying. In this case, we're going to actually be, our own personnel are going to be flying these UAVs. It's a good UAV that has a nice payload bay, where we hope to be able to provide it for TNT and other operations, where we can have a platform where the customer can come and just say, here, I got this payload that I want to put on a UAV, put it in the Sentry program, and then we provide the flight services. So again, they don't have to worry about any of that kind of stuff. We make it real easy for them. Surpass has some other initiatives that they're working on. One of the other areas that Surpass does is atmospheric research. We have a radar truck which we go out and chase tornadoes with, actually. Surpass is also getting an A-10, which we will use to do research on tornadoes, and actually somebody's going to actually end up flying this A-10 into a tornado. I'm sure some pilot will love that stuff. So we hope to continue with our own research program, with our own platform. We always want to expand this area here and bring in more customers, users, other government agencies that need a place to fly or test. I invite them, surpass.org, take a look at McMillan Airfield, take a look at our platforms that we have at Marina. Pelican's an excellent training platform. Sentry's an excellent platform for either training or payload testing. And certainly in our atmospheric research area, we have the Twin Otter for that. So there's a lot of things that Surpass can provide the government and industry. Everything we do is for the warfighter. I mean, that's our whole purpose in life, is to support that guy on the ground. And so if it's either by supporting him by getting new, fresh technology out into the field as fast as possible, or by coming up with new technology that could help him do his job and help protect his life. That's always our number one key, is whatever we can do to help either train or provide equipment to the guy that's on the ground.
Well, thanks to Ray Jackson for providing us with the overview down at Camp Roberts. Well, coming up after the break, we'll talk about research on a project called Snowflake. Stay with us right here on the Pentagon Channel. Well, time now to take a look at a project called Snowflake with one of our professors, Oleg Yakomenko.
So I was lucky. I was working on different projects on developing guidance, navigation, control system for different systems. The first system we developed was back in 2001. And then in 2008 we decided to utilize our algorithms on the parafoil rather than on the circular parachute. So we purchased a small kite, and together with my colleague from the University of Huntsville in Alabama, we developed an aerial delivery system. We called it Snowflake because of the unprecedented accuracy we were able to achieve. So currently, probably the lightest system that are currently on the market, they can deliver payload within probably 60, 70, maybe 80 meters from the target. Our goal from the very beginning was to bring it much closer, on the order of 10 meters from the target. So we achieved that, and moreover the algorithms we developed, they allow us to land the system onto the moving target. It may be a car, it may be a soldier on the move, it can be a deck of a ship. So the Blizzard team consists of two parts basically. We have an agreement to work on the system with Arcturus UAV, and they provide us the deployment platform, which is their largest UAV, Arcturus T20 UAV. And NPS provides the Snowflake aerial delivery system. So these two components, together they produce Blizzard. We started dropping it off the window of Cessna 172, the general aviation aircraft, and then we partnered with Arcturus UAV guys to provide the complete solution to special operation folks guys. And since the system was developed in 2009, there was some interest in some other organizations like NASA, so they're interested in returning some samples from the International Space Station. So the last portion of the system they're developing is supposed to be this one. So the requirement we have is to deliver it within 15 kilometers from the target. I think we can do much better than that. So today's drops are not the drops of the original Snowflake system, but rather of the some simplified design, and we are looking at deployment of the canopy itself, because eventually it will be deployed from 100 kilometers above the surface of the Earth. So that's our major concern today. Right now we are teaming with a couple of teams, one team from San Jose State University, another one from University of Nevada in Reno. And what we are trying to do is we are trying to prepare ourselves for these high altitude drops. I know that the accuracy is there. Once I put my algorithms in it, it will deliver it within 10 meters. I know that. My concern is that when you deploy the canopies at this high altitude, there is no air. And you may have, lines twisted over the canopy, like situation we saw even today. So my concern right now is how do we deploy safely these canopies at the high altitude.
Well, of course, NPS collaborates with lots of other institutions, and one of the students on this project is from San Jose State University. His name is Joshua Benton.
Originally, we got in contact with Oleg because I'm also an intern at NASA Ames Research Center, and we had this concept where we wanted to bring back payloads from the space station. And part of that is using a precision device for the final stage of the return to actually bring the payload to a target. So after re-entry, you need some sort of device to do that. And so we found the research that Oleg was working on with the Snowflake device, and so we got in contact with them, and then we started a working collaboration, and been working with him since on our version of it. So there's actually a few different variants of Snowflake. It's kind of an overarching project, and there's many people working on it. The one that I am working with is a device that's carried in a pod that goes underneath the UAV, so it's a shell. And on the interior of that, there's a very small steering assembly, and it's actually designed to fit within the payload confines of the ISS return canister that we've proposed. So the process of getting it ready is really just you attach a battery onto it, and it's got a board on it that has autopilot functions that you can program. It gets a GPS signal, and it uses those coordinates to actually guide it, and it also uses that for the heading. So once it acquires its GPS coordinates, you just simply pack it into the device, and then you have to untangle the lines and pack the parachute in there, and it's carried up on the UAV, and then it's released, and then as soon as the canopy deploys, it steers itself to its target. I really like doing hands-on things, and I'm an engineering student, but engineering just out of the theory does not satisfy me very much, and a lot of people seem to like the philosophy of engineering, but I like to see things actually applied to something in real life that works, and so you have some tangible product of all the design work that you had. And so this is really a good example of that. It's a lot of hands-on application, get to build something and design it, and then apply the theory and then see the product of it.
Well, now you know a little bit more about research project Snowflake. Well, as we close the show, we'd like to offer you the NPS Spotlight as we salute two of our students who recently were recognized by the American Red Cross Monterey Bay chapter as Heroes of 2012. And they are Army Master Sergeant Garrick Banfield and Major Jonathan Bleakley. Both have been recognized for their heroic efforts displayed during a shark attack on a victim just off Monterey Bay. Both students here at the Naval Postgraduate School. Congratulations. That's it for this show. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again right here on the Pentagon Channel. Bye-bye.